Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Council for the Town of Petawawa to order for April 22nd, 2025. Welcome to members of Council, staff, members of our studio audience, the media, and of course our special guest this evening, former MPP John Yakubuski and his wife Vicky. Thank you very much for joining us here in the Town of Petawawa. We'll start this meeting off with the reading of our land acknowledgement. And Councillor Coutu, it's your turn this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we gather this evening, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of the Petawawa Town Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Omamwanini Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Omamwanini people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years, and we wish to acknowledge our shared responsibilities in responding to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission 94 calls to action. Call to action number 50. In keeping with the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, we call upon the federal government, in collaboration with Aboriginal organizations, to fund the establishment of Indigenous law institutes for the development, use, and understanding of Indigenous laws and access to justice in accordance with unique cultures of Aboriginal peoples in Canada. Recent progress. The federal government will continue to revitalize Indigenous laws and legal systems through the Indigenous Justice Program, which will make it possible to continue to support renewed legal relationships with Indigenous peoples, improve access to justice, and address gaps in the Canadian justice system. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'd ask everybody in attendance if they could please stand for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you very much. I need a motion, I guess just before we ask for a motion to approve tonight's agenda, I'd just like to point out that item number 3 under staff reports will be reported on with the approval of the bylaw 1748/25. So having said that, I need a motion to approve the agenda. It's moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Carmody, that the agenda for April 22nd, 2025 regular meeting of Council be adopted as amended. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest on any of this evening's matters? And then we have one set of minutes to approve. The council meeting of April 7th, 2025. I need a motion to approve those minutes. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sabern, seconded by Councillor Donovan, that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held April 7th, 2025 be approved as printed and circulated. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, that brings us to the highlight of tonight's evening. We don't have much on the agenda tonight, but even if we did, you would be the highlight. We've invited former MPP John Yakubuski and his wife Vicky here to honor him for his 22 years of service as MPP of Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke. So what I'm going to do is take us back, way back for a bit, not back to your childhood, but we're going to go back a bit here and tell the folks a little bit about you. So you are a Barry's Bay native, but we're going to fast forward ahead a little bit after your childhood. And I'm sure not a lot of people know that you were once dabbling in real estate at one time before you took over the family business and owned and operated Yakubuski Home Hardware in Barry's Bay for 20 years. And this, I did some digging on the internet. I wanted to make sure I got my facts straight. You were elected to Barry's Bay Town Council in 1997 and served for 3 years. So I guess that was before the amalgamation and it became Greater Madawaska. It was just Madawaska Valley. And then from there, you, with encouragement of some other people, I guess I shall say, you decided to run for provincial politics in 2003. But first you had to get the PC nomination, and it wasn't an easy task. You ran against Doug Leach and won by 174 votes. So it was a very competitive race. but you emerged victorious, and then you went on to run against the Liberal Derek Nyber in the 2003 provincial election. And again, it was another close race. I think my math is right. You won by 645 votes. Is that correct? And just to give you some kudos, you were the only PC party member to unseat a Liberal during that 2003 election.
One in a seat held by the Liberals, did not seat the Liberal. The Liberal didn't run.
Okay, one of the seats held by the Liberals. And I guess your second cousin, Sean Conroy, he was the one that held it before you but had stepped down. And Derek Nyber was running in his place. So politics runs in the family. As we know, your father served as an MPP as well before you, and I think grandfather as well. I guess my research is not
Sean's grandfather.
Sean's grandfather. Okay, I knew it was somebody.
All family.
Okay, and that takes us to the 2007, 2011, 2014, 2018, and 2022 elections, all of which you won by, I think, what we'll call a landslide, which says a lot about how the Renfrew County, Nipissing, Pembroke riding perceived you and your performance. A landslide every time. Throughout your tenure as MPP, you held a couple of cabinet post positions, Minister of Transportation, Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry, and then you were also Parliamentary Assistant to the Premier at one time as well. Now, I could go on and list all of your accomplishments here in Renfrew County, but I have a special person on the video we're going to show later that is going to list those for us. So I'll leave it to that individual to do. But what I will say about your 22 years, John, as MPP here in Renfrew County, is that you represented the riding with integrity, honor, dignity, and most of all, unbridled enthusiasm. I can't think of a time when I didn't see you either smiling, laughing, joking, or singing, because I know you like to belt out a tune. And it's one of the things I'm going to miss having you around, but I'm not going to miss having you sing before me at the Petawawa Legion Remembrance Day dinner. It was always the toughest act I ever had to follow when you were belting out your World War I, World War II tunes, and then I had to follow that up. So, but throughout your tenure, you were very effective as an MPP, especially in terms of advocating for all of the riding or the municipalities here in Renfrew County. I know that any time that we sent you an email or a text or a phone call and asked you to look into something or do something for us down at Queen's Park, we knew that it was going to get done. Whether it was you advocating one-on-one or whether it was kicking down a door or knocking over a table, you would do what you had to do to make sure that your municipalities here in Renfrew County were taken care of. And I know it's only been a couple of years that I've been mayor here working with you, but I really appreciated the personal phone calls and emails, especially when it was good news. I know sometimes it wasn't always good news, but I appreciated you reaching out in person to let us know about what was going on. And also when we had delegations down there, whether it was Roma or AMO, it was great to always have you show up and sit beside us in person, not on the government side of the table, but on our side of the table, to show that you were with us, advocating for whatever we wanted done here in Petawawa, and we appreciate that greatly. I think your biggest attribute, though, is the respect that you garnered from everybody. Not only your colleagues within your government, but all of your opponents across the floor as well, and all of the municipal leaders and members of council here in Renfrew County. I think no matter who it was or what you were doing, you always had the respect of everybody. And that's a big shout out to you, your personality, your effort, and your work ethic that you had throughout your tenure. I know it's always hard to retire when you've done something for so long, such as you have, but I hope that when you walked out of Queen's Park for the final time, you held your head high, knowing that your legacy as MPP for Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke, your legacy is intact, and it will always be respected and honored. So from the town of Petawawa and the entire town council here and all of our staff, we want to congratulate you for your 22 years of outstanding service as MPP of Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke. Before I call you up to present you with a plaque, I have a little video I'd like to show you. Just to kind of sums up the history of you as MPP and then there's an important message.
I believe my steps are growing wearier each day. Still I've got another journey on my mind. Lures of this old world have ceased to make me want to stay. And my one regret is leaving you behind.
If it proves to be his will that I am first to cross, and somehow
We're out here on beautiful Golden Lake on Saturday of the Family Day weekend for the first of 4 fishing-free events.
don't feel lost, for I will be the first one that you'll see. And
I'll be waiting on the far side banks of Jordan. My grandfather started the business in Barry's Bay in 1918, so we sold the business in 2001. So there was a lot of history in business, and then of course the history in politics. Rise up with a shout and come running through. Gil Gavin is a Ottawa Valley Country Music Hall of Famer, and she did a duet with me on the second CD called The Fireside Banks of Jordan. And when that CD was released, for over a year on Valley Heritage Radio, The Fireside Banks of Jordan with John Yakubuski featuring Hall of Famer Gil Gavin was the #1 requested song on that radio station for over a year.
Hey John, better known as Yak to everyone, big congratulations on your retirement, my friend. You've been a true champion for Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke for over 22 years and a champion for the PC Party. From Highway 417, virtual triage care, community paramedics, that's a legacy you can be proud of. Elected 6 times, that doesn't happen by accident. It happens because people trust you, and you carried on a great name. Your dad, Paul, set an example, and you followed it with honor. Thank you to Vicky, your family, and your staff for everything they gave back. Enjoy the next chapter, and God bless, Yak. You're an absolute champion.
Come running through the shallow water, reaching for your hand.
You saw the last of that guy.
Oh. I hardly think I have. Listen, that video, I'd vote for you if I ran again. Can I, could somebody, thank you, Emma. I don't know if it's on or not. You don't have to put a code in anymore now. It's just a private code.
You're not on signal.
No.
Congratulations,
Oh,
thanks.
thank you so much.
Brendan.
Thank you so much, Gary.
So this was made by a
Oh,
local
beautiful.
member of our military here.
Wow. Wow. That's way more than that's kind of the standard thing you get, a little handwritten, not handwritten, but typed out.
We thought
Certificate
22.
on
We thought
paper.
22 years deserved a little more,
Wow.
and a certificate.
This is going to find a place other than just the boxes. Wow.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. We'll have to have a picture of it hanging on your wall.
Really something. So I guess we get it. I guess we're going to get a picture of it.
Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, open this one. Okay. We'll give you a chance to say something.
Is it okay if I stand?
Yeah, I'm sure we can hear. Yeah.
Oh, you'll hear me. Wow. You may not think it sometimes, but I get pretty emotional sometimes. But anyway, any chance I can get a little bit of water? Oh, yeah. Left my flask in the truck.
Camera. camera picking John up at that location, okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Turn off the TV behind you so it's not backlit.
Thank you so much. What a tremendous honor and what a pleasant surprise when I got the call from Mayor Service. We were away, Vicki and I think in Dominican at the time. The town of Petawawa wanted to do something to recognize my years of service. And I've got to tell you, when I set out to be the MPP in Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke, I certainly didn't plan for these kinds of events if and when that day might come when I would no longer be the MPP. And I got to tell you, if I knew that people liked me as much, maybe I wouldn't have quit. Just kidding. Just kidding. But it has been very special, and this is, again, something extremely special for me. And I want to thank you, Mayor Service, for your address, articulating, so there's a lot happens in 22 years. And I also want to say thank you to Bob and Sonia Sweet for being here this evening too, because Bob was the mayor when I got elected in 2003. And so was the mayor for a good, the 85% or so of my time as MPP. And what a pleasure it was for me to interact with. And then there's some long-term members of council, some not so long, but we've had such a tremendous working relationship with this town. And an honor for me, and the experience of watching this town grow. Like the changes here in Petawawa in my time as MPP, when you think of rural Ontario, they're staggering. The advancements, the progress. So as a consequence of that, there was the opportunity to interact on a very, very constant basis. A lot of it with you, former Mayor Sweet, because of the time chronology that we shared. But it was wonderful for me to actually kind of share in what was going on in this community, and as it was changing and growing. I remember the joke I made at the 25th anniversary. I don't remember it, but it was funny at the time. It was me failing to even understand the changes, the population changes in Petawawa and what we've seen and the growth in this community. And what is, when I was a kid growing up, I might have come here to play hockey or something, but you wouldn't even recognize what you see today. In most of our communities, they're ostensibly the same with a few, modernizations, or some of the buildings have had facelifts, but, the Barry's Bay hasn't changed that much. But here in Petawawa, it's been like changing worlds almost, and part of that is because the growth and the forward thinking of the community members that have served as council as well. So it's been a tremendous experience for me. But I also don't want to, part of what I'm not being recognized here tonight is not just my involvement with the town of Petawawa, but I think it's about the whole career and picture and the wonderful people that live here in Renfrew County and Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke, South Algonquin as well. And what a tremendous, if you've never served in public office, and I say this with the greatest of respect for the 99.8% of the population that never will, because we all have our choices, we all have our roads. that you never truly understand exactly what the life is like. And it is not an easy life, and it's not a life that doesn't have its challenges, but it has such tremendous rewards when you work for great people. And that's what I've had the honor of experiencing for so long. Just as in, in Petawawa's case, growth represents tremendous opportunities, but boy, did it represent a lot of challenges over these years as well, because you've got to manage all those expansions and population growth and everything else. And as an MPP, you have to take on, accept some of the work that is expected of you as in your role. But the experiences you garner from the shoulders that you rub with other people and the meeting of special people that you could never have done in another career. It was more compressed and more narrow in the number of people that you work with and deal with on a regular basis. Being as someone elected to public office gives you the breadth of meeting people that is not available in most people's lives. And my successor, Billy Deneau, was, I think, the 1,984th person elected as an MPP in the province of Ontario, sworn in. Some were elected on the same date, obviously, but I think it was 14 or 15 new MPPs in all the parties. We still haven't hit 2,000 in the history of Ontario since 1867. Less than 2,000 people have held the honor of holding the distinction of the job that I was honored to have. So I just have so much gratitude to the people who have made this so special for me. But I also would be remiss if I didn't, as the Premier mentioned, my family. Water. Water helps. Oh, thanks.
It's good Petawawa water.
Yeah, no, hey. None of this would have been possible without the love and support of my family, and also, especially my dear wife Vicki, but also the tremendous staff that I had for 22 years. I mean, there were times that I would be stopped on the street and somebody would say, "Oh, Mr. Yakubuski, thank you so much." And I'll be honest with you, I had no idea what they were talking about. Because so many of those things I never had my hands on at all. The staff were able to take care of them, but I was the beneficiary, pardon me, of their great work for those 22 years and those 6 subsequent elections after that nail biter. So when you have a great staff, it makes that all possible. So I am just eternally grateful for having had the opportunity to serve in the capacity that I did for this long, and look forward to serving in other ways as I become less public in my life, but still as connected and committed to this place we call home, being the best place in the greatest province in the greatest country in the world. Thank you.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned your staff. I'm surprised Laura isn't here with you today. Thought she might have been sitting right in the front row behind you, or maybe driven you here. I'm also glad that you mentioned family, because as you know, behind every successful politician, there's always a spouse or a partner, somebody who's provided all of that support that has been needed. And I'm so glad that you brought Vicki here today with you. So Vicki, because of your love and unending support for John, Town of Petawawa would also like to recognize you here today for your support.
Yeah, I got a job here now. Finally, I got a job.
Oh, sorry. Here, this way. Sorry, Colin. We're gonna take a little photo break and get the whole gang up here.
Sure.
Okay, let's carry on with the bylaws. First up, we have bylaw 1746/25, being a bylaw to appoint an acting treasurer for the corporation of the town of Petawawa. I need a motion for first and second reading. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Coutu, that bylaw 1746/25, being a bylaw to appoint an acting treasurer for the corporation of the town of Petawawa, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1746/25, being a bylaw to appoint an acting treasurer for the corporation of the Town of Petawawa. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 1746/25.
I need a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 1746/25. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, seconded by Councillor Donovan, that bylaw 1746/25 be read a third and final time and passed. Any questions or concerns on the bylaw? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1746/25, being a bylaw to appoint an acting treasurer for the corporation of the Town of Petawawa. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 1746/25, this 22nd day of April 2025.
Congratulations, Paula Turcott. You're now the acting treasurer. Next, we'll go to bylaw 1747/25, being a bylaw to appoint a committee of adjustment. I need a motion for first and second reading of the bylaw. Moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Driscoll, that bylaw 1747/25, being a bylaw to appoint a committee of adjustment, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1747/25, being a bylaw to appoint a committee of adjustments. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 1747/25.
I need a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 1747/25. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Councillor Roots, that bylaw 1747/25 be read a third and final time and passed. Any questions or comments on the bylaw? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1747/25, being a bylaw to appoint a committee of adjustment. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 1747/25, this 22nd day of April 2025.
Next, we have bylaw 1748/25, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 456/07 of the corporation of the town of Petawawa as amended. And just to let you know before I call for the motion, this was the amendment to tonight's agenda. And I'll also let you know that Melanie Shear, our Director of Planning and Development, is here to answer any questions on the report PL-14-2025 concerning the zoning bylaw amendment for part of lots 17 and 18, concession 1, Barron Canyon Road, should any councillors have questions before we finalize this bylaw. So I need a motion for first and second reading of the bylaw. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Driscoll, that bylaw 1748/25, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 456/07 of the corporation of the town of Petawawa as amended, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1748/25, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 456/07 of the corporation of the town of Petawawa as amended. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 1748/25.
I need a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 1748/25. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, that bylaw 1748/25 be read a third and final time and passed. Any questions, concerns on the bylaw? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1748/25, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 456/07 of the corporation of the town of Petawawa as amended. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 1748/25, this 22nd day of April 2025.
Next, we have some correspondence. First up, we have an Integrity Commissioner Services Annual Report for 2024 from Tony Fleming, Cunningham, Swan, Cardy, Little, and Bonham LLP. So what you had in your agenda package was a letter from the legal firm summarizing the services provided by the Integrity Commissioner to the town of Petawawa in 2024 in accordance with section 223.6 of the Act. Purpose of the report was to highlight the mandate of the Integrity Commissioner and to inform council and the public about changes to the Act and that affect the process of the Integrity Commissioner and subsequently councils and local boards. So within that letter, you heard a summary of some of the services that were provided concerning an issue that we had here in the town of Petawawa and also the costs involved in said issue. Are there any questions or concerns from members of council with this report? No? So I believe we'll receive that for information. Okay. And our next piece of correspondence is a letter from the Honorable Rob Flack, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, concerning the strong mayor powers. So as we know, 47 municipalities in Ontario were already awarded strong mayor powers, some of the larger urban population centers in our province. And then recently, the strong mayor powers were now being provided to an additional 169 municipalities in the province of Ontario. So within this letter from Minister Flack, it sets out the reasons why these powers have been granted to other municipalities. And not so much for council's benefit, but for anybody watching and for the public who may be confused as to what is going on here. The priority or the impetus for the province doing this is to support provincial priorities to help province and communities grow. And the main areas that they're hoping these strong powers will be used towards are to ensure that there's new home construction, economic development, and building infrastructure will be developed that supports community growth. So things like water infrastructure, wastewater infrastructure, roads, and transit. So that was the impetus and the reason behind these strong mayor powers being granted. I think what we should inform the public of, and what's important that the public know, is that within these strong mayor powers, I'll just read off from the bullets here what the powers are, what these powers are that are being granted. So within this new policy, heads of council would be able to choose to appoint the municipality's chief administrative officer. They would be able to hire certain municipal department heads and establish and reorganize departments within the municipality. They would be able to create committees of council, assign their functions, and appoint the chairs and vice chairs of committees of those councils. They would be able to propose the municipal budget, which would be subject to council amendments and a separate mayoral veto and a council override process, which is kind of vaguely worded and seems to me would need a lot more detail given out in terms of what would actually happen in terms of this budgetary process. They would be able to veto certain bylaws if they are of the opinion that all or part of the bylaw could potentially interfere with a provincial priority, such as housing, transit, and infrastructure. They would be able to bring forward matters for council consideration if they are of the opinion that considering the matter could potentially advance a provincial priority. And they would be able to propose certain municipal bylaws if they are of the opinion that the proposed bylaw could potentially advance a provincial priority. Council can pass these bylaws if more than 1/3 of council members vote in favor. So that's an outline of what these strong mayoral powers that are being given would have this individual be allowed to do. So that raises several concerns, and these concerns have been raised by several municipalities throughout the province of Ontario. So I'm not going to make up my own new concerns. These are concerns that everybody in a lot of these municipalities have expressed. So some of the concerns are that this is undermining the value of collaboration between the mayor, the council, and the staff of the town of Petawawa in terms of the democratic process here in the town of Petawawa. Another concern is that there is an elimination of shared decision-making when you allow one person to make the decision or override the decision of others. There's a possibility this could create divisiveness at council and it would harm the process of building a consensus within a group of 7 people. There is definitely a blurring of the political and administrative roles. We hire a CAO to perform a role here in the town of Petawawa. And if that role can be usurped or overridden by one individual, it seems that the political entity, which is the council, and the administrative entity, which is the town, is being blurred. Everybody has their roles, and this is kind of taking some of them away. And it seems to me that there is a definite erosion of the democratic process. All 7 of us were elected to perform a job here in the town of Petawawa to represent the people. And all 7 of us have done that up to this point. And for one person to then assume that role of the 7 people seems to me to be eroding the democratic process. Just a comment on our council. Our council is 7 fine people that all bring a special skill set and special levels of knowledge to this council table. And we all have different values as well. And we all bring that, our skill set, our knowledge, our values, and together we put all that together and do what's best for the town of Petawawa. So having said that, we function as a cohesive unit. We are like a family who get together and make decisions, but we all have the same goal, and that's advancing the growth of the town of Petawawa, and that's making our community a better place to live. And we have done that since day one. I believe the first day we got together and became a council, we have done that, and we've supported these provincial priorities together. We've done that. We've seen even in the last 2.5 years, the growth in the town of Petawawa, the new homes being developed. I think we're doing everything the province has asked of us, and we're doing it together as a council. So having said all of that, I don't know if tonight we can decide on what our next course of action is as a group together, or whether it's giving direction to staff to come back with some kind of report for us. Many of the municipalities have asked and already sent letters to the province requesting the province to either repeal this legislation that is granting the strong mayor power to our municipalities, or to provide an option to formally decline the power, which there is at this present time. There is no process for a municipality to say no thanks. If a municipality chooses not to exercise these powers, right now as it stands, you just don't use them. But I don't know if that's the proper process or not, or should there be a formal way for us to say to the government, this is not something that we want to do here. So at this point, and I'll hear from council in a second, but at this point, I don't know if we're ready to craft and send a letter together, or if we need some more research done by staff in terms of the political process that has to take place, or what recourse do we have in the situation that we find ourselves. Okay, I'll stop there and open it up to the floor. Councillor Roots.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very good report. And my opinion is we let staff research into how we can respond to that in a proper way. Thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Carmody.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Service. I guess I'd just like to say that I don't buy any of the minister's rationale for these strong mayor powers. To me, it just seems like a very bad idea. Our neighbors to the south have been doing this for a long time. I don't see them as a shining example of what we should be following. Really, what it amounts to in my mind is bringing partisan politics to the municipal level. This allows the ruling party in Queen's Park to have friendly people in municipal councils and to have them exercise veto power at the behest of their political masters, which we all know that as a municipality we exist only because the province created us and we answer to the province. However, there are certain distinctions, like the ruling party at the provincial level would not be able to influence certain municipal decisions, but with this they can. And I just think that what's being lost, like to build Ontario, it just doesn't make any sense. You want to build Ontario, start rebuilding the disappearing middle class. Like, anyway, I sense a rant coming on, so I'll just stop with that.
Glad you ended it before the rant. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Coutu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly agree with Marie. I think it's a great next step to find out what our next steps could be, and certainly to maybe do some information gathering. I know there's been a lot of municipalities who've taken different approaches, so it'd be great to find out what's worked, what's had traction. But I did send the mayor an email today just to express my concerns about the erosion of democracy, and my point to him was that this is an effective council, and I believe that, and I believe we will continue to be effective, and I agree with the mayor that we are getting it done. So I really appreciate you flagging all those other concerns as well, and I support what Marie was saying would be a great next step. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Sabrin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I think it's important to know the information that we have at our fingertips to be able to make a good decision as to how we proceed. So I think staff doing more research is a good idea. And I agree with my council colleagues. I think that, you know, we have been elected by the people, and we debate issues. We don't always agree on everything, but we bring our opinions to the forefront, and it becomes a more fulsome discussion. And I think that's just in the best interests of our community. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate your comments that you've passed on with regards to our council as a fairly new, not shiny new, but new still, councillor. I think we are an effective team. I appreciate everyone's input when we're negotiating or reviewing items that have come before us. And I think, yeah, we should definitely find a way to ensure that the province understands that that's where we're at.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Councillor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I would just like to say, like, I'll echo what other people are saying. I can understand a place for these in larger municipalities that have issues getting a lot of things done where they need more population density. We don't seem to have those issues here. Everything we have been doing seems to be working. And it is nice to have different opinions from multiple different people because everyone represents a different piece of our population. So kudos to you for automatically saying you're not quite interested in it. I know a lot of people, if they get handed a stick of power, sometimes they wouldn't want to relinquish it. So thank you.
CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to council. I think what I heard right now is that no one is supportive of the legislation that's being proposed. So I think rather than research, we will take some time to look at, and we have already been watching, believe me, and there's been a lot of chatter on the administrative side of things across the province about what this means for smaller communities. So we'll take some time, but I think what we're going to bring back to you is really hopefully a well-crafted letter that you can send to the province that backs up what I've heard tonight. So if that's, am I off base in saying that, or do you want a full report with a full research set of research on it? I think what we're trying to find is a way to say no to the province and have them remove us from being involved in allowing for strong mayor powers going forward, right?
I think that's the general consensus here, is that we didn't just want to craft haphazardly a letter to send to the province, but look at all the other examples that have been sent and do some of our own background research in terms of what recourse is there. Because as I understand it now, even if we decide not to participate in the strong mayor powers, in a year and a half when this, an election is held and a new council is put in place, if there's a different mayor, that mayor could come in and instantly begin to use the strong mayor powers, as long as that legislation stands. So just looking at some of those aspects maybe and some of the examples and then finding the best way to craft a letter.
Will do.
Is everybody good with that then? Okay, so we'll look forward to that report. And I guess sooner rather than later, because I know there was a deadline to respond, but it was something like April 16th. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of time, but.
We'll bring something to next week's meeting.
Perfect. Okay, so next we have minutes. Council and committee meeting minutes of April 14th, 2025. I need a motion to approve those minutes. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Coutu, that the minutes of the council and committee meeting held on April 14th, 2025 be accepted by council and that resolutions from that committee become resolutions of council. Any questions or concerns about the minutes? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we have staff reports, FIN-13-2025, the March 2025 expenditure report. Our new acting treasurer, Paula Turcott, is going to provide an overview.
Thank you, Mayor Service and council members. So this month actually doesn't look very much different than the first quarter from the previous year. We have 142 vendors. We have the dollar amount of checks issued is 4.9 million. Average dollar value is 27,000. Average dollar value per invoice, roughly 9,500. And the number of vendors that were paid over 100,000 are 6. Out of that 6, the majority are going towards the PIL payments towards the county, towards the different educations, and the Minister of Finance, as well as the, Miller Waste. Are there any questions based on the expenditure report?
Any questions on this month's expenditures or the list of checks that followed? Okay, seeing none, I need a motion to accept the report. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Driscoll, that check numbers 4941 to 5120 totaling $4,920,384.94 be approved by council. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
That was an easy one.
That was.
Okay, next we have PW 09-2025, the extension to service contract for the collection and transportation of various solid waste materials within the town of Petawawa. Trevor, our asset energy management coordinator, has been putting in a lot of work on this one, and it hasn't been easy because the powers that be haven't made it easy to do. We're ready for you, Trevor.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council, for having me back again. Certainly been a lot of time dealing with waste. No wasted time, but anyways, gotta throw in my nice little joke. So, here tonight just to provide the update and seek Council's approval for the extension to our current service contract for waste collection here in the town of Petawawa. Our current service provider is Miller Waste. And we will, if approved, we will bring forward amended bylaw to authorize the execution of the extension to the service contract at the next council meeting. So just a bit of background. 10 years ago, bylaw 97115 authorized the execution of our current service contractor with Miller Waste, along with our partner municipalities, City of Pembroke and Township of Laurentian Valley. The contract was for a duration of April 1, 2015 to March 28, 2025. And it included provisions to extend the contract for 2 additional 1-year terms. And it included the waste streams of garbage, recycled materials, source separated organics, and yard waste. The contract expiration, so March 28, 2025, as all of you are all aware from my past presentations, also coincides with the new provincial blue box regulation, which sees the transition of the recycling collection for eligible sources to the 100% producer funded model. I won't go more in detail on that because I've been here before for that. So the contract extension, when we met with Miller Waste and our partner municipalities, the extension kind of reflects a couple of realities that, one, the contract permits the 2 one-year additional terms. We had to reflect the fact of the new provincial blue box regulation in that the the collection for the recycled material from eligible sources is no longer our responsibility. So that had to be amended as part of this extension. The just overall increased cost to maintain older trucks as they carry on with the extension. And then it still allows more time for the partner municipalities to retain a consultant to develop the terms of our next contract. And by going through this extension, that time does allow us to at least carry through this blue box transition, allowing us to see what comes of it in January 1, 2026, and then procure trucks for our next contract, which we're targeting in April 1 of 2027, so the end of the 2 years. As mentioned in other reports with the blue box transition, right now our transition period is from March 28th of this year to the end of this year being December 31st. Currently, the town's curbside collection program has co-collection of recycled materials with the eligible and non-eligible sources. So eligible being residential, non-eligible being your municipal and commercial sources. As of Jan 1, 2026, required by the new blue box regulation, that has to be decoupled. So the partner municipalities are still continuing to plan for that decoupling of the eligible and non-eligible collection. So there is some detail that I wasn't able to provide in this report tonight, but we are still working on it in the remaining 9 months of the year. So the financial impacts of the contract extension, I'm sure comes as no surprise. Costs are going up. It's been 10 years since the original contract was awarded, and CPI adjustments over the years. There are certain items that just exceed CPI increases. So table 1 in the staff report outlines the program estimated costs, and then the table 2 in the appendix or the attachments details just the unit costs. So in table 1, in 2024, we had a total program cost for all streams of $1,030,500. For 2025, given the split of Q1 is including the recycling that we were obligated, and then the remaining 9 months from April to December would be our cost savings with the removal of the recycling for the eligible sources. That total we're estimating by year end is $1,041,200, which represents about a $10,700 increase by over 2024. So the savings of $160,000 that we estimated for the remaining 9 months of this year with the removal of the eligible source collection essentially is evaporated with the increase of the contract extension. Additionally, you see that for the remaining 9 months and then 2026 and 27, we are still seeking clarity as to what the unit cost will be for the non-eligible source collection during the co-collection, and then we still have to negotiate with Miller Waste for 2026 and 2027. And the clarity we're seeking is from Circular Materials and or through their retained contractors, again, Miller Waste and Mterra, just to see what those unit costs are going to be. So when we do have an update, we can certainly come back to council with that information. So that is why at this time, non-eligible sources, I was not able to provide the cost estimate or the unit cost. Just a couple other points. I know I kind of missed some detail here, but in all unit costs, the units are based on metric ton. So the original contract, the unit costs were based on metric ton. So that is what the units are representing. And I know some of the unit costs might be a significant increase on some of the waste streams. However, with the partner municipalities, we did reach out to other municipalities across the province just to confirm if this is a trend, and that seems to have been the general response coming back was costs are going up across the province. So that is my speech on this report. We are looking for approval of the unit rates to proceed with contract extension. And I believe Pembroke and Laurentian Valley have already gone to their councils and they've gotten their approval. So we are the last ones to the table. But if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, I'll open up for questions from council. Councillor Roots.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Trevor, for the good information that you brought back and gave to the council here this evening. I support it, sitting on the waste recovery. There's a lot of unknowns, as we know here, and but I think he's done a very good job negotiating and trying to get all the details. I think we have to wait for the dust to settle, but I think that Miller's done a great job providing the service for the town of Petawawa, and it's still a very cost-effective service that they provide, and it's a little cost of doing business, but at the end of the day, I still think it's very good value. But good work on that, and thanks for the information, bringing it back. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Sandberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Trevor, for the report. For sure, costs have increased. We've also grown as a municipality. And I think that the partnership approach has served us well, and Miller has served us well. So I too am in support. Thank you.
Councillor Carmody.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Thanks, Trevor, for the report. Very well put together. And so I would support the proposed path forward. But I just want a little clarity on how much more is it going to cost us? Is it just the 10 grand, or do we have, is that part of the dust settling that we're not entirely sure? Or?
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Carmody. That is just an estimated cost based on the unit rates that we have been provided by Miller Waste. And the fact that we are no longer providing the recycling or funding the recycling for the eligible sources. What do I want to say there? The costs provided in this report, yeah, that's a good point. The costs provided in this report are only for the collection. So we do get billed by the Waste Recovery Center for the tipping fees. So all the waste that is collected is transported to the Waste Recovery Center, and they bill us for the receiving and processing of that material. So not provided in this report because we're not approving the tipping fees at the Waste Recovery Center. These are strictly costs related to the collection. So hopefully that answers your question, but
Not really.
There's still some dust to be settled, which is why having this contract extension for the 2 years will get us through this transition. Keep consistency right now, whereas if we try to implement a new contract around this time and having the blue box transition go on, we might have gotten it wrong. So this at least permits consistency. We have the same contractor for both the blue box collection as our own collections. So again, the consistency is certainly helping to settle some of that dust, but there are still some unknowns, and we are working as best as we can when the information is given to us to try to get us through this and get us to our next contract.
Thank you.
I think what Trevor is trying to say is that he's using his best forecasting skills, maybe even his spidey senses, to come up with an educated guess that it's only going to be $10,000 more in 2025. Am I right there?
If I have my spreadsheet correct and all the formulas, then yes, that is my best estimate based on the unit rates that we have and the tonnages that we had in 2024. So yes, that was the other thing, is all the estimates are based on our 2024 tonnage that was collected, as I can't really predict 2025 collection yet.
I just have a quick question for you on the non-eligible recyclables. In 2024, that it cost us $4,300. That's collection costs to pick up recycling from our commercial, schools, and municipal buildings. Is that correct?
Correct. So the schools, there are 2 schools in our collection program right now that are public funded, so they will actually become eligible sources as of Jan 1, 2026 per the regulation. The way we did this though is we looked at our total sources and then broke out our eligible versus non-eligible based on property code. So it ended up being that our non-eligible represents about 2% of our total sources. So it is a smaller number, and that's why the costs seem very low. But I think when we get our clarity from circular materials and or their retained contractors, those unit costs are going to be a little higher than traditionally under when it was a co-collection program.
Because I know there's some commercial entities in the town that are concerned they're going to lose that service with this transition, and what are they going to do? You know, they have to negotiate their own contract. But looking at the costs, if it's only $4,300, it's not really financially onerous on the town to work out some kind of deal where we include the non-eligible. I'm just tossing that out there, but is there also a tipping fee for recyclables once it gets there, or is this it?
So that's what we're waiting to hear back from circular materials. We've gotten some mixed information right now in terms of the unit cost for both collection and or the tipping, because it's no longer going to be the waste recovery center billing us. It's going to be the retained contractor that has the lease at the waste recovery center for recycling, being Mterra. I've been given word that prices may go up July 1, but that is just a verbal conversation at this point. So we know prices will eventually go up. So my take right now, or my understanding at this point, is we will have 2 fees, one for the collection, which will be a pass-through cost during the remaining 9 months of this year. And then we have to negotiate with Miller for 2026 and the 3 months of 2027. And then along with the tipping fees. However, we're still trying to get clarity on that. We are now dealing with an additional partners being Circular Materials, Mterra, Miller Waste, and still the Waste Recovery Center on all of these streams. So more hands in the bucket is just trying to find out who the contacts are and what is the correct information has been a challenge, but we're pushing, we're getting there.
Thanks for that. And I think in terms of our commercial and retail businesses in the town of Petawawa, I think maybe what they would like to know is, can they still be a partner with the municipality through this process, or are they all going to have to negotiate their own deals individually or collectively as a group with Mterra or whoever else comes in and does the recyclables?
So the intent right now is to keep that service for the non-eligible sources, because our own municipal properties are non-eligible. So if we want our own recycling to be picked up, then we may as well partner with a lot of the businesses that are currently utilizing our program as well. So they see it as a benefit. We have gone and met with our business advisory network group there, and the consensus is they like the service, they want it to stay. So that's our direction, and that's the way we're trying to plan and make sure we can continue that service.
That's good to hear. Want to take care of our commercial and retail entities. Any other questions? Okay, so I'll read the recommendation just so we're sure what we're voting on here. The council approves the extension to the service contract for the collection and transportation of various solid waste materials within the town of Petawawa, and that bylaw 971/15 be amended to authorize the execution of the extension to the service contract and presented at the next council meeting. Everybody clear on what's going on? Okay, I need a motion then. Moved by Councillor Root, seconded by Councillor Driscoll. Should I read that all again, or are we good? We're good? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thanks, Trevor. That's a lot of work. Okay, next we have councillor reports. Deputy Mayor Sabri.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll wait until council meeting in May to report on April. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Carmody.
Thank you, Mayor Service. I can report that at the library, we've been busy in our efforts to hire a new CEO. So we're at the in the final stages of that. So hopefully I'll have some news to report before too long. I attended the Code of Conduct training on Tuesday, April 8th. And I attended an open house at the Legion on April 8th as well regarding the relocation of transmission line D6. And, oh, of course, I participated in a number of activities with our guests from Holland last week. Brought them for a side-by-side ride, which they had a great time on. And, I guess that's it.
Thank you. Councillor Coutu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On April 14th, I participated in a tour of CNL with our Dutch delegation, and a huge thank you to everyone at CNL who facilitated that. It was the first time I'd been able to go behind the scenes and really see the extent of the impressive work that goes on there, so I'm very grateful for the gold-plated tour. And a big thank you to Deputy Mayor Sabri and for the mayor for facilitating that amazing experience and hosting the delegation and putting on all of those events and giving them, I think, the best time that you could have in Petawawa. So definitely was very excited to also participate and trying to be part of those festivities, including the amazing dinner catered by Madame Meek at Doghouse Brewery. Exciting to see that location up and running and inviting the public in. So very exciting. And of course, I attended the parade on the 15th to commemorate the liberation of Leeuwarden. So amazing to have the garrison out in the town like that. Truly an incredible experience for those school children, and big thank you to all of the teachers who came out in the rain to be there with the classes. So it was a very exciting week and a half, I guess. So thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also, I attended all the festivities for the delegation from Leeuwarden. Thank you very much for organizing everything between you and the deputy mayor and all staff. Very good. On April 17th, I also attended a meeting at the airport. Regular meeting, went over getting ready for the summer season. Essentially, we are looking at getting in a new contract with a new marketing individual. So their contract will be going till December 31st. So hopefully it's going to work out very well for us. And other than that, everything's looking good. So all I can say is go Leafs go.
Councillor Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 8th of April, I as well was at the Code of Conduct meeting that was hosted here in Chambers, learned lots of stuff. And later that day as well, I attended the hydro line relocation planning open house that was held at the Legion. 14th of April, I was at the CNL tour as well as the meet and greet at your home with our guests from the Netherlands. And on the 15th of April with the parade and lunch in the morning and then the evening recognition event in the evening, which was very well put together. Thank you. On the 17th of April, I had the joy of participating in one of our new active living seniors programs that is being introduced through our 2 staff members. And it was a wine tasting event. Kudos. Yes, it was very well done. Thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had the opportunity to attend the nice dinner event at your house for our guests. And I just want to, again, I was not able to attend every event, but it was a great job by yourself and your wife and the staff here to show a truly good visit to our town. Thursday, I did attend the same airport meeting with Councillor Driscoll. I just want to mention that the chair had mentioned that the airport's been very busy with military training and local business aircraft movements. So very good. Also, just reminder to our residents of users of County Road 51, as of April 29th, there will be a speed reduction to 70 kilometers per hour from Golf Course Road to Silky Drive with a safety community zone that will start next week. Just a heads up on that one. And also this weekend, Petawawa Showcase is on at the Civic Center from Friday to Sunday. So please come and visit us at their multiple town booths. I always like to visit with their visitors to the town and to our residents. And if you are a visitor to the town, please take time to take a drive around and look at all the new changes. We're very proud of it, and we always like to showcase this as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll try and make this quick because I know there's a game on. So on April 8th, there was a Hydro One public meeting with the change of the transmission D6 line, taking it away from going out by Black Bay and moving it along Highway 17 and Garrison property. So a shorter version, and eventually that unused hydro property will be turned back over to the original owners of the property. On the 9th, there was a county council meeting with health, corporate services, and community services. I'll report more on that later. And then on the 14th and the 15th, of course, we had our guests from the Netherlands. The mayor of Leeuwarden, Siebrand Buma, was here with the rest of his delegation. And I just have to say a lot of thank yous in public. First to the RCD, Royal Canadian Dragoons, for agreeing to move their parade from their usual location on the Garrison and collaborating with the town and bringing it down into our community. It was a lot of work on both of our parts. So for them to take on all that extra effort to make it a community event was fantastic. And to the soldiers that were on parade in the cold and the rain, thank you very much for looking good despite the weather. Lieutenant Colonel Summerfield, who was the commander of the regiment, thank you very much for facilitating that. And a big shout out to Major Reed and MWO Barnett, who were the two individuals involved with all of the coordination of the event. Couldn't have done it without you. Thanks. On Monday we went to CNL. Big thanks to Phil Compass and Ellen Wong for giving us the gold-plated tour, and again for raising the two Dutch flags. It was a big hit for the Dutch delegation to see their flag when they entered, and to have their name up on the video screens when they walked into the facility. You know, it's a big welcome, Mayor Siebrand Buma from Leeuwarden. And then I looked, but there was no welcome for Mayor Service. And I pointed that out to them. Thanks to 450 Squadron for hosting us and the Dutch delegation. They gave us a great tour of the Chinook helicopters and the facility there. A huge thanks to Deputy Mayor Sabrin, and please pass this on to Dale as well, because Dale did a great job of barbecuing, making butter tarts, homemade pea soup, and I meant to thank him publicly at the dinner, but forgot. So thank you to you and Dale for all of the work that you put into organizing, especially the food, all the food aspects. To Colin, Ted, and Chris from our Recreation and Culture Department and our Public Works Department, that parade couldn't have happened without all of their extra efforts as well. And to Doghouse Brewery for acting as hosts for one of our dinners. It was a great event. It was great to have the Dutch delegation here. And from all of the communications and the pictures they've been sending me, they had a blast. They couldn't believe how good our hospitality was, council and the town of Petawawa itself. And yes, Councillor Carmody, thanks for bringing your ATV. It might have been the hit of their of their time here. They love being able to get a chance to drive. Yeah, even though one of them got stuck in the snow. Later that day, there was a water and dirt kickoff with the media. I know we're not that close to August, but we're already getting ready to host that big event here across, not only in Petawawa, but across the valley. On the 17th, we had an inter-municipal meeting with Whitewater, Pembroke, Laurentian Valley. This is something that we just started within the last year. We're calling it the G4. Or are we not calling it that yet? Anyways, we got together and talked about a lot of interrelated issues that the four of us are having. And I also had a chance to check out the Champlain Dog Show. There are some very interesting pets there. Okay, that's it. There's no closed meeting. I need a motion for confirming bylaw. Moved by Councillor Donovan, second by Councillor Coutu, that bylaw 1749/25 be read a first, second, and third time and passed. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1749-25, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on April 22nd, 2025. This constitutes first, second, and third reading short of bylaw 1749-25, this 22nd day of April 2025.
Need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Councillor Driscoll, that the meeting adjourn to the call of the mayor. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.